Football with friends is fun as hell. My name is Alex Dunlap. And man, today's the day, guys. Oh my God, we're gonna have some fun today here on Football with Friends. So happy to see all you guys, man. It's just oh, we got so much to get to. What's up, everybody in the chat? Everybody checking in. Is it Alan Frug? Alan Frugier? I think I could call you whatever you want. Whatever. You don't even care what I call you today, right? It's just you're gonna be happy no matter what. Nathan, how are you doing, brother? Alex, you got the deep dig O-line ready? Oh, come on, man. I can't get the defense and the O-line and everything already done. We'll talk a little bit of defense today. I can't wait to get to the O-line, man. It's a lot more fun on weeks like this for sure. Craig Simlinger, Alex grinning from ear to ear. Man, you're spot on for sure. Jareth Mulholland, how are you, sir? Gabriel Aguilar, Paul Serdarowski, Charles Rhodes. Man, so good to see all you guys, and what a big show we have in store for you guys today. Of course, you know, a little game happened over the weekend, so we're gonna talk about that. Texas going into Alabama and pulling off Sark's probably the biggest. Blake, this has to be the biggest win of Sark's entire career, right? As a head coach.
Oh, easily.
Yeah. So I didn't really go look into that, but I'm pretty sure it has to be. So we have that. We're going to break it down. I just got the deep dig done as far as the defensive rankings. I've not written the columns yet, but certainly some movers and shakers in the rankings this week as far as the, just the overall market shares and the snaps per disruption allowed. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about some of the charting, some of the things that maybe on defense, no game is going to be perfect, right? And clearly the things we saw that were the bright spots were the super bright spots. A couple little things that we'll highlight just because we have to. It's the deep dig, maybe small little areas of concern. But dude, clearly a lot of good news today. This ain't going to be the kind of hard talk sort of discussion we had last week whenever we had to start breaking down the offensive line. And certainly never look forward to having those kinds of conversations with you guys, man. Not much of that stuff today. We have my reactions to Sark's press conference today. He said a lot of things that I found really, really interesting. So probably to start out, we'll go through all that. Also, some takeaways from NFL Week 1. We have Monday Night Football tonight. We have Bills, Jets. Looks like there's going to be a little bit of rain in that thing and some kind of interesting matchup patterns that I noticed using the Roster Watch matchup tool. If you're playing in DFS contests or if you're getting into any props, we'll do our normal thing with prize picks. Whenever we get to maybe the last segment, we'll go through. We'll tell ourselves a story about what we think might happen with the game. We'll correlate it. We'll see if we can hit a six banger out of the park there. We'll get to, of course. You know what? The Circa Millions. So I told you my Circa Millions picks last week. Went 3 of 5 in those. Should have gone 4 of 5 if Mike Vrabel wasn't such a moron and just would have gone for it on fourth down instead of kicking a field goal there. And you know what? I think we could put to bed the whole thing about Matthew Stafford not being able to connect with younger millennials as he certainly did have a great connection this weekend versus the Seattle Seahawks with young Puka Nacua and young Mr. Tutu Atwell. So maybe he's gotten over all that. I think we should still probably talk about it. His wife did make a big scene on a podcast that just came across our desk late last week. So we'll get to all of it. First of all, again, thank you guys. Is that burnt orange? What is Nathan saying? Is that burnt orange dye job Alex is sporting? What is it? Do I look burnt? Wait, my hair looks kind of orange. It does. Is that what he's talking about? I swear to God, man.
That's got to be what he's talking about. It's pretty orange.
I think it's just exuding out of me, dude. I don't know what happened. Here's the thing. I don't have red or orange hair. Like Blake, I'm no ginger. You know this for sure, right? Like my hair does look red. It might just be some of this lighting. Okay. All you guys, Sam Colson, Samuel Hayes, rain is supposed to be coming, Alex. How can things get any better?
Just when we thought this week couldn't get any better, rain on the way.
Yeah, rain on the way. And as usual, man, you guys can email me if you want. Email me during the show, alex@rosterwatch.com. I put my email up right here. Certainly, if you're interested in sponsoring the show, email me there. But if you just want to email me something just to talk a little smack or, say something mean or something nice or whatever, if you got a question, you can always email me there if you can't get me in chat, if you're not much of a chatter. With that being said, Oh, and Blake, can you get the image pulled up for the Orangebloods? Not now, but just so we can talk about the promo. Yeah, well, hey, right now, perfect. 60-day free trial at Orangebloods going on right now. You just go there, you get 60 free days. So if you're not on the message boards, you can go there right now. You can read my column for my reactions this morning. You can read the entire deep dig that I do. Every day, it feels like there's a feature from somebody else. It's like so much content that it's hard to keep up with. It's also the biggest, largest message board in all of college. I think in sports, maybe, or maybe just in the USA. Maybe there's some of those soccer ones over in England that are bigger. But as far as any sport, anything in the United States, man, it's the biggest. It's a fun, awesome community, and it's not just football, right? If you like this show, you might kind of dig it too. Up above us right here, again, just go there. Use what is that promo code, Blake? Texas arrives, free trial, or you can scan the QR code. Also, our topic today, best HEB products. And what I mean by that is not just like the best, you can't say broccoli or sell it. Like I'm talking about an actual branded product that comes from HEB that like they try and sell you this like an HEB kind of creation. I'm a big fan of HEB, big fan of a lot of these products. I have my own little list that I've made up here. I'd like to hear what yours are. Always interested in new ones. Dude, I am so tilted about my hair looking orange. It really does. Blake, get this fixed. I think this might be on your end. What is going on here? I am not a red-haired person. Not that there's anything wrong with being red-haired, but golly, my hair does look orange. Okay. Fajita says Ryan Smith. Yes. The Meaty and the brand that they have, certainly something that I'm a big fan of. All right. Big fan of Sark's press conference today. So let's get to it. Then we're gonna get to the defensive rankings, how they've been updated. So Sark today. So of course Sark was 20 minutes late as usual. So we got to hear a bunch about Alex Loeb doing his best to filibuster. We got to watch the Derek Johnson, Jalen Ford vignette from back in like July that we've seen 30 times already. But during the time, Alex Loeb did come back on, said he let us know that Texas now has the third best odds to win the national championship, and Quinn Ewers is third in Heisman odds via Caesar Sportsbook. So there you have it. Win versus Alabama, and look good doing it, man. Quinn throwing these moon balls. That's where you get, man. Third in Heisman odds via Caesar Sportsbook. Also via ESPN Analytics, Texas is now tied with Ohio State for the best chance to make the college football playoff. ESPN FBI, he showed all the games left for the remainder of the season. And it's like, dude, it's a nut spot for Texas if you believe this, because everything's like, it was like 90-something% for Wyoming. And then some of these tougher, I mean, even Kansas State was like a 79% chance. The toughest one was Oklahoma at the Cotton Bowl, where it gave Texas a 54% chance of winning in that game. And I also sort of found out the bad news that the Wyoming game, unfortunately, is on LHN. So, as usual, get ready to figure out what you're going to be doing for your streaming. It feels like LHN is just getting harder and harder. Like I always say, man, you got to call into LHN, have them send you one of these packages where you can send back a stool sample, right? Maybe send them your last 3 years of your income tax returns. Scan a copy of the front and the back of your driver's license, your insurance card.
I think Spectrum finally came to a deal on that.
Did they?
I think that was earlier today.
Oh, well,
I'll need to confirm, but I'm pretty sure I saw that.
All right, well then, so you don't have to send the stool sample. Then I guess you'll be able to watch if you have Spectrum. But you'll still have to deal with the second rate LHN broadcast. What tells me most about the LHN broadcasts is they'll do this stuff where it's kind of, sometimes it's these games that are sort of, kind of not bad games. None of these games are bad, man. All these games are fun as hell. But sometimes the Texas will be up, or it'll be kind of lagging in action, and they'll go down to the field side and like Fozzie Whitaker. Well, no, he's kind of part of the broadcast crew now. I don't even know. Malcolm Brown will be down on the sidelines and they'll be talking to him and they'll like miss like a whole 2 plays and it completely screws up all the charting and everything like that. So if you work for LHN, I'm not saying I'm not saying you're second rate. I'm saying, man, just show us all the plays, please. All right. So
Alex, I fixed your hair.
Did you? Whoa, dude, we ought to get some. Look at this. We ought to get some of that merch. I would wear that. I would wear that. Underneath the FWF, it should have like 2 little stars and just say fun as hell. Right? I would wear this thing everywhere. No. What is that the kids say? Is it no cap or is it no hat?
No cap. No cap.
No cap. Well, that is no cap, Blake, that I would wear that cap. All right. So the actual takeaways, right? So what Sark's, the other thing too, the one vignette that they did show was Quinn Ewers' house, and he had over like Hayden Connor, and he had over Jalen Ford, and he had over Kelvin Banks, and he kind of showed around the house and stuff. And he said his prized possession was this awesome big whitetail mount that he had. And he also, right next to it, he has a Lonesome Dove poster. And so I'm just saying, I'm right here. I'm like, Quinn Ewers, really? One of us. One of us. And the other thing that was interesting, I'm not much of a bow hunter. I know that a lot of you guys are. But he was talking about whenever he shot that deer, he was saying he was in South Texas and he saw the rack. He couldn't believe it. And he didn't think he was going to get the shot off and everything. And he was so nervous. He waited there all day. I guess he was there in the rut because he said he'd been in his blind all day and it was coming up on 4:00. He was so sleepy. He said right when he saw that buck, though, it woke him right up. And he said that it got to like 18 yards before he got a clear shot. And I was like, dude, Quinn's out here hunting with a bow and arrow. He's an archery hunter. So he that's an archery big South Texas whitetail. I don't know if don't know whether it was a free range, high fence. Here's the thing: it doesn't matter. It's a sweet looking mount that he's got up. One of us. Okay, so Sark opened by talking about the team's confidence, and especially with some of the adversity that they were faced with. He talked about how there were just a lot of exceptional plays that maybe didn't show up as much on the stat sheet as it did when they were going back and watching film. Stuff like whenever Texas would fumble or put the ball on the ground, or times when they thought that they might have fumbled. So the hustle to get on those footballs. He also mentioned Byron Murphy when he talked about this. And when we get to the rankings, you're going to see Byron Murphy continues to be just an absolute stud for Texas. Whenever Cody was on the show doing the Texas versus Alabama final takes last Friday, and he said, like, we'll come out of this game talking. It was like, Blake, what was that? Like the unsung hero or something like that. Who's going to be the guy? It's like, the star of the game. I'm not sure that you consider Byron Murphy a star of a game because, as usual, man, he's down underneath at nose guard, just doing the epic, awesome, dirty work. But it was cool to hear Sark. It really explains some of the things that we explain here on the Deep Dig. Like, there are things that he does, with stuffing these runs and defeating these double teams and making things easier and cleaner for the linebackers. And it's things that grade really well in the Deep Dig as far as what we do with the grading and the charting. And we'll go over just quickly, and it'll be more and more quickly every week that we discuss what goes into the grades, because eventually I figure you guys will kind of know. Right now we're still just kind of starting the show. And so if there's new viewers, I'd like them to know what we're talking about when we talk about the production caused, the disruption allowed, things like that. But yeah, man, he's just a really, really good, consistent player. He's one of the team's best defenders, as you'll see soon whenever we put the rankings up. As far as Wyoming, Sark said, tough veteran football team, a lot of 5th and 6th year seniors, hard nosed, assignment football, this kind of thing. I can't get it out of my head whenever I forgot who it was. It might have been Nash or one of these other guys put up the ratings that one of the services did about just the actual team, the team talent levels based on just the recruits and where they were ranked as a consensus by the services. And he put together like a list of where every team was that Texas would be facing this year. And by far, even less talented than Rice was Wyoming, as far as just the level of pure recruiting talent on that team. With that being said, it's like it can't be hopefully this is a game where the team is not, I hope that the kind of Rice games, the Wyoming games, these kinds of things aren't games where they begin to let off they need to not let off the gas. They need to pump that thing down, right? Because that gas pedal, right? Just keep it going, because it's like Sark said, people kept asking him. And of course, this was the same question, like, oh gosh. So Dennis Della Pena asked it first. And then said Golden, of course, if you get a chance to ask one question during the whole week of press conferences, you might as well ask the same question the dude 2 questions ago asked. but he did. It's just about like, how do you keep the not so much this, but how do you keep the heads from getting big? How do you keep them from walking around with their chest puffed out, overconfident, all this stuff? And what Sark had said was like, well, look, I don't want to beat all that out of them. Like, I've spent the last, 2 years, like, trying to build their confidence levels up. So it's not like, it isn't like I'm going to be going to him. And he didn't say it like this, but he's like, it's not like he's going to be going to him and just like beating him over the head saying, no, don't be confident. I mean, you got to play with an air of confidence. You got to fly around like you're having some fun, right? These guys look like they were having some fun. They look like they were confident dudes with some swag. How long have we been waiting for that? How long have we been waiting for a team that goes out there against a team like Alabama that looks confident? How long have we been waiting for really Sark, admittedly, in his press conference today, to say, look, last year, whenever we went down there at the end of the third quarter, or at the end of the third, maybe middle of the third, whenever they went down, he said, last year, I don't think I would have been as aggressive. In the spot where they, we'll get to what he said about A.D. Mitchell, but the long A.D. Mitchell throw back in the deep in his own territory. He said, last year, those were the kinds of things that I might not have thought about. And I think a lot of that is an extension of kind of the confidence that he has in his quarterback, but also just the fact that he's like, man, if this team's confident and we're confident and we're going to come in here and we're going to have this swag and we're going to do this, I kind of owe it to him to lead by example. So whenever he's talking about, yes, of course, this is a good team. They're well coached. They're hard nosed. We got to be ready. And it's like, they have to have a healthy level of respect for any team that they're going to be playing, especially one that feels like a look ahead game, kind of like this does. You're kind of poking, you're kind of looking ahead to conference play, but you can't get high on your own supply. You can't start, reading all the headlines and thinking you're the best and everything like that, because that will get you in big trouble. But it's a fine line to walk, I think, if you're a coach, whenever you've done your best to instill a culture that has that sort of winning spirit and that attitude. And like, let's go out and have fun. We're talented dudes. We're fast and we're big and we're strong. And we can have some fun. We can go out there and we can play with the best of them. I mean, if Texas has one of the most talented rosters, as a Texas fan, I know how you probably feel, and why this game felt so unbelievably, liberating, was because you always feel like, well, if you're a Texas fan, you say, well, we have all the talent in the world. Every year, all we're talking about is what, top 5 recruiting class, top 3 recruiting class. This recruit's coming in, and this one, and this one. You got Arch Manning, and you get you get Quinn Ewers, and you get all these great players. And then somehow things happen to where people turtle up, or stuff happens, or you get swindled by bad calls or whatever else there is, or you get into a tough spot in the game, and the second half just doesn't go like the first half went, and you just don't understand why. Is it because the plays were scripted in their first half? Is it because of this? It's like, I thought we're paying this coach like $7 million a year. Like, what the hell? Like, I think at some point it's about, of course, getting the athletes here, but it's also about making sure that culture is instilled, and that I think it's a real interesting, and that's why these coaches get paid this much, right? For one, you live and die by every win or loss, but for two, like, that's a fine line, dude, to say like, well, I want them confident as hell. I want them out there having fun, flying around, making plays. I want that swag. but I don't want, but they can't be overconfident. They can't be cocky. They can't, they can't feel like they're entitled to this. They got to go out every week and earn it. So I think that when we talk about the defense and how these guys are kind of coming together, some of the dudes that played down last week just due to volume and everything like that clearly moved up a bunch. This week in the rankings, what I've done is I've added like the movement. So we know how much one guy fell, how much one guy moved up, certainly the movement within the tiers as far as defense. And some of the guys that you would have expected to, outlier first games, they're right back up, and it'll continue to move like that. Barring unforeseen circumstances. But things are coming together. They're coming together defensively. I can't wait to watch the offense. Chip asked about Sark's special assistants. Paul Christ, D. Camillus, and Payam Sadat. He basically said for the first word for each one. So he said Payam, he's a great sounding board for Coach PK. Christ. He also said that he's helping with incorporating aspects of the flex defense. And of course, Texas isn't playing the flex defense, but what he means is some of the stunts and the twists and things that Texas is doing, how they're bringing some of their linebackers down onto the line of scrimmage, like we saw with Anthony Hill this week. We'll talk a lot about Anthony Hill. He said Paul Christ, a great sounding board. His first thing he said just in game plan mode, there's great ideas in the run game. And for me, I'm just like, well, look, those ideas are still yet to kind of come to fruition, right? We're still kind of waiting. We're betting on the come here with this run game a little bit. Again, I still haven't even done anything except just like you guys, when I was over at my buddy's house watching the game, I haven't gone back and done my work on the game. But to me, it felt like the running game still feels a small bit lacking. And, that's sort of not proliferated. What is it? It's no, it wasn't like that. Not what does it mean, Blake? When something is not aggregated, what is it? When something adds on to something, it's like this fact is blah 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 by this fact. Okay, here I'll just say it like this. The run game hasn't been great, and one of the things that is causing that, or maybe does anybody in chat know the word that I'm trying to think of? Golly, it's compounded. It's compounded. I knew I would come up with it. It's compounded by the fact that CJ Baxter every single game is he gets nicked up and stuff, and he never gets a full week of practice. Oh, here's the other thing. So Baxter, kind of reading between the lines with this. So Anwar asked about CJ Baxter, Maurice Blackwell. With those guys, with CJ Baxter, he literally said, knock on wood, but it's not quite as serious as we thought. He did say that he's very limited in practice and will be day to day. Okay. But he says that Blackwell is still in rehab. He's not out on the practice field. That means he's probably back either in the bubble or up on that field where like the kickers and the punters all hang out. And he's up there with trainers, probably working resistance bands and doing stuff like that. So he's not even with the team. He probably goes out there just, when you go to practice, is how this works. Like they'll go out and they'll go through like the initial walkthrough stuff, and they'll have their pads on, and then they'll go through dynamic stretch with the team. And then after dynamic stretch, they go walk up and they just kind of start doing their own stuff with trainers. And that's how you know that they're like not, they're out there moving around, they're in pads and stuff, but they're not taking part in any teamwork. It feels like CJ Baxter might have been taking part in some teamwork, but he said very limited and will be day to day. He said Blackwell's still in that rehab portion up there with the kickers and the punters. And so he's not going to play this week, but he says he's also day to day, which is clearly not true. Blackwell's not day to day, and if he's saying Blackwell's day to day and he's saying CJ Baxter's day to day, obviously day to day doesn't mean really anything to him. He's just trying to say day to day. I don't know. I wish they quit asking me questions, but so I wouldn't expect to see CJ Baxter back this week. Why push that guy to get him back versus Wyoming? I know that he would love to play, and how frustrating it must be for him to actually, like, CJ Baxter won the starting job. He started these. I mean, he's starting these games. I know there's an war between him and Jonathan Brooks on the depth chart. But if you were listening to this show in the preseason or reading my work in the preseason, I said, look, it's kind of just a matter of time, just based on the historical precedents that have been set, that CJ Baxter should be the starting running back for this team. It must be frustrating to like earn that as a freshman and look kind of good whenever you get the opportunities. And then each game, you kind of banged up or nicked up, and, you have this kind of wide open runway to get the thing started and say, like, all right, Sark, like this, like I'm going to be your lead dog that you can, that you can strap the rest of this crew to. And, I'm going to be the one that you're going to ride to 1,000 yards like you have for what, nine straight seasons. Blake, can you look that up? Has it been 7 straight, nine straight 1,000-yard rushers? Something. Blake, come on, look it up.
I'll look it up. Okay. I think it's every year he's been a head coach. I could be wrong. It's
something ridiculous, and it's like CJ Baxter had, and he could still, right? He could still, but it's got to be a little bit frustrating for him. And Sark was asked about the run game in general, and what he thought about it. And he said the same thing. He's like, man, I've practiced against Alabama for however 2 years. I've played against them last year. I scouted for them this year. I know these players. I know who they are. Like, this wasn't ever going to be the smash fest as far as let's go, what I'm saying, let's go run for 380 yards between two backs in this game. It's like, he says that the yards are going to be tough to come by in a game like this. Certainly very understandable. And with I think personally versus Wyoming this coming week, even if there's no CJ Baxter, doesn't this seem like the kind of week now that he's kind of thinking about it and he's saying, well, his mind is kind of on this. Maybe a week to start kind of establishing something there, because he did talk about the importance of being able to run there towards the end of the game, the ability to be able to kind of run down the clock and stuff like that. And against a good opponent, that gives you some, at least situationally, you were able to do some nice things. I think you like to systemically see that sort of improve, right? Just a little bit. What better week than the week versus Wyoming? Although he did say that they haven't allowed anybody over 100 yards this season as far as a team, and ranked nationally as some kind of good run defense. I don't believe it. This is Sark. Just they're going to go out and run the ball versus Wyoming. There's a whole ton of other stuff. And he talked about we were asking the question last week: who's simulating Milroe in practice? He answered that question. He
did
talked
that catch
about
you off guard like it did me? I was like, oh wow,
it did. It did. Do you know what? Let's talk about who is simulating Milroe. We'll get through the rest of this press conference. We're gonna get to the deep dig defensive rankings, the updates to the defensive rankings coming out of a giant victory. How good does it feel to say it, man? A giant victory in Tuscaloosa versus Alabama for your number. What your number 4 Longhorns, Blake? Your
number 4 in the AP poll.
Your number 4 Longhorns next.
Cory Redding, the linebacker from Galena Park, North Shore High School, USA Today rated him as the best high school defensive player in the nation. That's incredible. Today he verbally committed to play his college ball for Max Brown and the Horns. He's the kind of defensive difference maker that Texas hadn't been able to get in years past, so it appears things are changing.
This Orangebloods recruiting flashback focuses on one of the most important recruiting wins in the history of the Texas program. Former 5-star defensive end Cory Redding out of Galena Park, North Shore. To completely understand the significance of Redding's commitment, you have to understand the context surrounding the recruitment. Redding's recruitment occurred just 2 years after another 5-star defensive end, David Warren, bypassed the Longhorns in favor of Florida State. New Texas head coach Mack Brown was trying to put the finishing touches on a number 1 ranked recruiting class, but he had to overcome the stigma that great defensive players didn't go to Texas, and that the Longhorns couldn't go into the Houston area and land a truly elite player that didn't play his football in the suburbs. It wasn't going to be easy for the Longhorns, as Redding's top 3 included Colorado and Arizona, with the Wildcats having a big edge with Cory's brother Chris already in the Arizona program, which had his mom wanting both players to play their college careers together. Colorado was actually viewed as a potential party spoiler, but while Redding was on his official visit to Boulder, CU head coach Rick Neuheisel took the Washington job. And that basically eliminated the Buffs. That left Arizona and Texas to duke it out. And when push came to shove, Redding couldn't leave the Lone Star State. Moments before he announced his decision, Redding informed his mom that he was selecting the Longhorns. He told her, quote, "I'm a Texas boy. I want to go to college in Texas, marry a Texas woman, and have Texas babies," while she broke down in tears at the news. Moments later, he told the world the news.
Cory Redding in 1998-99 season will be attending the University of Texas.
Redding's commitment sent shockwaves throughout the recruiting landscape as Mack Brown's dominance in recruiting in Texas began that day and rarely slowed down for the next decade and a half. The Longhorns finished with the #1 overall recruiting class in 1999, with the USA Today's Defensive Player of the Year representing the cherry on top of a very tasty sundae.
Spent time with him and myself, and I was like, I want you to put it on my mind the next morning when I wake up. And when I woke up, my hands was holding up the hook and sign.
No matter what you're needing, Specs same-day delivery can save the day with our Specs app or online shopping. From world-class wines to hard-to-find spirits and craft beers to gourmet foods, delicious snacks, and spectacular sweets. It's Specs. Cheers to savings.
Football with friends. It's fun as hell. We're back. I'm Alex Dunlap. Oh, golly, are we having some fun? This is no fun. I'm telling you guys, man, my hair is not red or orange, but it looks, there we go. I'm telling you, Blake, we need to get some of this merch for real. I would wear this hat. I would wear that. I think it looks good. Let's see. Cody, will you tell them that I don't have orange hair? They're all in chat making fun, saying I dyed my hair orange.
Forget that. Look at this.
What is it?
Finally.
Oh, there you go. We'll finally get Chris Jones back. That's what you get.
Only cost us one win.
Whenever you lose to the Detroit Lions. Let's see. But a bunch of this stuff to get to. More reactions to Sark's press conference. What's up, Chase Crutchfield? Even though you're here, bullying me on the internet. I feel like I'm a victim of internet cyberbullying, cyber harassment. It's an actual real problem in America today. Specs, wine, spirits, and finer foods. World-class service that's all about you. Look, you can go to Specs near you. I always shop at Specs. They did great for me this weekend. I've been told by my wife that I need to buy some things that are different types of alcohol because we have some different neighbors that they can't get LHN and they might want to come over and watch the game on Saturday. And so she's like, you need to buy some other kind of alcohol because people might not just want to drink ranch waters and Miller Lite, Alex. We'd like, go get something new, go get some gin. And I say, gin? What, gin? Who drinks gin? But I can go to Specs. I got my guy there to see like, hey, man, my wife's making me buy some gin. I know I know. It tastes terrible. I know. But I got to buy some. And he'll be like, I understand. If you got to buy this horrible stuff, here's the best kind. Here's the best price. Look, 4-time National Retailer of the Year. Been in business since 1962. That's before they had. Did we decide, Blake, whether that's before they had air conditioning or not? My mom said she didn't have air conditioning back then.
There had to be some air conditioning, right?
Yep.
Surely.
Yeah. Kenny R saying he enjoys a gin and tonic from time to time. I don't see how. Gin and juice and an IV drip, says JJG. Money B's on. Hey, Money B's are truly one of us. Not gin. Never gin. So I had some. Listen to this. If you ever wanted to kind of peek behind the curtain here, not a literal peek behind this curtain, I would never do that, but a peek behind the actual curtain of Blake and I was having some connection issues to end the last show. Blake, is it better now as far as the connection?
Yeah, you're looking good. 10 out of 10.
I had to go reset the internet, reset the modem, get the camera set back up, do all the. Well, that's actually all I had to do. But still,
you got it done in like a minute.
I did it in less than 2 minutes. I really feel like
I had the spec sheet. I was ready just in case you weren't going to be back in time.
Yeah. Okay. We got Jay Ward. He's got no internal limiter. Hendrick's gin is the best gin, says Doug Hape. Look, I didn't ask for. I don't want your gin. That's the reason I go to Specs. I'm going to ask them what I need to do to get some of this disgusting gin. Maybe some other things. What else should I buy? I don't know what kind of alcohols there are besides really tequila. I mean, there's bourbon, of course. Mezcal, always delicious. People are just like, what did you think about Ethan Burke? I thought Ethan Burke's incredibly awesome. It's like he looks fancy. He looks like a beautiful big Westlake chaparral. Let's see. I'm having some connection issues again. So Blake, if you let me know what's going on here, kind of just keep an eye on stuff.
You're still okay. We can still hear you. It just the video glitches just a little bit every now and then.
I wonder what's going on. I'm hardwired. I'm good. I'm all set, man. It's like, all right, man. Hey, we're all friends here. We're all friends. Oh, Tito's, right? Vodka. Look, the connection issues is the good Lord telling me to quit talking about this nonsense and focus. So let's get back to what Sark said. So so he basically asked, there was Joe Cook. He asked if Saturday's game, as far as like the pass rush, as far as the defensive line, if that's what he considers kind of ideal, right, for what he would expect to see out of a team and stuff like that. He said like, well, not ideal. There were some things that happened. We'll talk about it. There were, I believe, 3 blown contains, but in the context of what could have happened versus Milroe versus the fact that there were three blown contains, and we'll talk about. I mean, clearly there were other times where he got kind of loose, but only 3 times wherever the clear force player got contained broken on him. There were some missed tackle issues and stuff like this, but really just nothing to complain about. And if Texas plays like it did against Alabama for the rest of these games all season, they're definitely going to win every single football game. So like, now we've seen them do it. There's no excuses not to go win, right? And we know every week's different, but it's a good sign. And even Sark saying like, yeah, that's pretty close to what we want to be seeing from these guys on a week in, week out basis. Let's see. They said, so Jeff Howe, right? He was the one that asked about the AD Mitchell when the team was backed up and just trusting them to make that play, because you can really put yourself behind the sticks on that kind of thing, sort of deep in your territory. And Sark said that wasn't even the original route. That wasn't what was called. But on Thursday, and remember last Thursday when we talked about from Sark's PC, he was saying, man, the details today that we went over and stuff like that, they were great. These guys were on point with their details. And I didn't say it last week, but during the Rice game, maybe the attention to detail wasn't quite as good. But this week, it really, really was. And I think that's the kind of little detail, right? He said that Quinn knew that if he got that look, he had a little signal, like a little audible signal that he would give to AD Mitchell, and he would run the go route. And it's just those little things are super, super important, and like they're important for us to recognize. It's important to us to recognize within the context of this team, and as we're watching this team and understanding, why are they looking better? Like, what is it that's, so these are some of the fundamental things that are happening. As I see it, I just got another connection notice, man. I can't believe it. Blake, Texas wins versus Alabama. That's like I got squirrels out here in the trees having a party, trying to chew up my lines. Golly, I don't even want to tell you what I have to pay for this business internet. Spectrum. Oh yeah, the other thing was just the whole thing I was saying just about YOLO Sark, right? I love YOLO Sark. The Sark that said it was Leah Van, right? I guess she's with Lone Star Live. What is Lone Star Live? I guess it's a new. Do you know what that is, Blake? It's like
it's a new publication that just came out for the season.
So Leah Van from Lone Star Live, she was saying that how about calling that trick player early in the game with Xavier Worthy? And he's like, he's like, oh no, it wasn't just that. Like we ran two reverses and a double reverse pass and all this stuff. He's just like, he talked about Andy Reid and about how he noticed that, in the documentaries or I guess he watched the quarterback documentary with Mahomes and how they would get together and talk over plays and how he thought it's so neat that Mahomes would go off to the side and, work on things and come back. And he says whenever he's in practice and they get together and they kind of, he says like, there's like kind of like a joy that comes with coming up with these plays. And when they do them in practice and they actually hit, right? He says, I kind of owe it to him to call them in games. I mean, they kind of love it. Like he says, it's big action for them. It's big action for me. It kind of coincides with what I was saying earlier, just about it feeling like, him saying last year when we got down, he didn't say he would have turtled up, but he said, I wouldn't have been as aggressive, He's just like, now he's like, well, here I am, here I am now. It's like, maybe like I said, just YOLO, dude. It's like you get a little bit down, you get aggressive, you make your big moves, you do like you go out there, you run 3 trick plays in the first half. You got to empty the chamber, man. You're playing versus Alabama, so it was certainly good to see there as well. The one other thing is that he was asked about the deep balls again and why it was better this time. And we'll talk about this when we get to offense, but clearly if you were watching the game, I almost said to myself, what, like, is he just trying to like shoot the moon with some of these things? Like the hang time on him, just really, really high balls up in the air. And what Sark said, it's just like, it should have been intuitive at the time, but he's like, man, when those balls, and he didn't say it like this. All this is me just paraphrasing him. He said when these balls are just flat or that, somebody throws it on a frozen rope, that's not an easy ball for a player that's running a deep 9 route. So like what a 9 route is just a route, like a go route, right? Just run vertical, right? That's not easy for a guy to adjust to, right? Even if he's beaten his man and all the rest of it. You got to allow you have to allow good receivers to be able to track the football, to adjust to the football, to be able to make plays on the football. Whereas those, and he didn't say this, but I'm just opining this, like those frozen rope footballs, right? Out to the field side that NFL scouts drool over. Those are just those back corner precision throws that you don't want them to adjust to. You just want to put it in the one spot where you know that they can get it and get it to him. That's not necessarily how a dude who's running down the field and who knows where he is as far as his own locomotion and things like that. If you allow him to start tracking the ball, adjusting to it, being able to get his body in the correct spot to where he feels comfortable making the catch, be it over this side of his shoulder, et cetera. Those are the kinds of things that make a difference. And it's a pretty insightful answer from Sark, and a reason why you think like, man, Quinn was really floating those balls out there this week. I think it was by design. And if he can continue with it, certainly the deep balls did not look like a struggle at all versus Alabama. So those were sort of my takedowns, my takeaways from Sark's availability here. Let's see, Hacker saying that the O-line was fantastic. I really think that they looked good too. Let's see, Colby S. How are you, brother? That's a player's coach right there. Jay Ward, I probably have an idea what you pay for Spectrum. Had it before we bought our new house. Yeah, well, I mean, because I like to call them up and say, you get over here right now. I need this fixed. Like I have a radio show, or now I have this, this. Is this a radio show? This isn't a radio. I have a YouTube stream. Is that what's not? I don't know. It's a show, right? I got this. Just get over here. And like, if you have business, they like come right over. If you and they also give you like the higher upload limits. For me, it doesn't even matter what I get for download. It's like I need the upload limit to be high because I upload this kind of content onto the internet and onto the and out into outer space. How do they do that on SiriusXM, Blake? Blake, how do they do it? How does it come from my little mic here on this thing through a little Comrex thing down over here through the internet? And up to satellites that like beam down to my neighbor's car when he's driving by to go back home to his house.
I don't know. It's pretty crazy.
It's just unbelievable, man. My son, I feel like such a bad dad. My son's always asking me questions like this, and I'm just like, what? I don't know. Ask me how to get a smoke ring on a brisket or something. Like, come on, man. All right. So Jareth Mulholland, hey, he's saying it's football with friends. It's fun as hell. Jay, thank you very much. JD saying it's whatever you want it to be. Alex, I can't believe how orange my hair looks. It is just so bad. It's just so bad. Okay. Tell him aliens. That's probably a good one. But see, then he's only like 6 or 5, man. He's close to 6. He'll get too scared of aliens. Let's see. JD Hack asked how that brisket turned out. I was like, I have radio, and I have another show that I do on Roto Grinders called The Blitz. It's a video show on Saturdays. So like I do radio for like 5 straight hours on Saturdays. And so very ashamedly, my wife had to cook the brisket. How did it go? But I think it turned out great. I think it turned out.
Did she also dye your hair?
Yeah.
What happened with that?
She did it. She did a good job. Let's see. Okay. All right. You guys want to get into the deep dig? Blake, let me know if there's any connection issues where these squirrels are out here having an orange hair dye party. They're already kind of orange to begin with. All right. So how do we do this last week? I think we started out just with the player participation, right? So before we get into the actual grades, let's just talk about the participation. Any major differences between this week and last week. And you know what, Alex? You should have done this before the show even started. What I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this page. I'm going to I'm going to insert a column to the right here. And I'm just going to say minus the snap percentage from week 1 versus the snap percentage for week 2, just so I can get an idea of who had the big, so format, change the number of the format, who had the biggest change as far as their snap percentages. Is this going to work, just doing this live on here? Okay, yeah, here we go. So the biggest downgrades in snap percentage, you had just all the guys you would think, right? Like all the backups. So Michael Taft went from a 55% snap participant at safety to a 0% snap participant. Derek Williams, same thing at safety. Texas only played 3 safeties in this game. Of course, that's 28, 21, and 11. So what is my brain is just so fried always after that. That's Catalon, Thompson, and Crawford. Jet Bush, his snap percentage fell 39% from 58.82 to 20.31. Jalen Gilbo went from a 28% participant to a 0% participant. Trill Carter, look, backups, right? Trill Carter went from a 33% participant to a 6.25% participant. And to be honest, I don't know why he was even in there on the times he was in there. They put in Trill Carter on the 2-point conversion. There was a 2-point conversion. Yeah. They put him in on that play. Let's see here. I think all of this, I'm getting another Blake, I'm getting another connection signal. This is tilting me endlessly, dog. I'm serious.
The audio is still good, so just keep rolling. You're fine.
All right. But golly, call Spectrum. I'll text you my address. We'll have the worker here, like behind me, be like, "Who is this maniac talking to us?" Austin Jordan was down 19.61% on his snaps. Let's see. Malik Muhammad fell 22% from 52% snap participant to 31. Of course, Leonga Lafau, Jamon Tapp didn't play. Christopher Ross lost a lot of time. Austin Jordan. Gavin Holmes didn't play quite as much either. Gavin Holmes didn't play well. He fell really far in the rankings. And his snaps per disruption allowed, it looked pretty miserable at this point. I think it was because it had to do with the pass interference penalty and the fact that he just didn't do anything else in the game on only 24 snaps. Justice Finkley, his fell 29% to 15%. And then the only other kind of major one as far as more than a 10% change would have been Jerry Bledsoe. He fell from a 19% player to a 9% player. And you would figure that in competitive games, this is sort of this should be sort of the new baseline. Michael Taft was never going to be a 54% snap participant, right? Derek Williams probably wasn't. I figured Derek Williams would probably at least get in the rotation for this game. Maybe Derek Williams is just one of these guys that played a lot in the first game, looks really good. They're figuring him to start next year. Maybe they can just play him in 4 games. That kind of could be the way that they're looking at him. Trill Carter, boy, I like that guy a lot better at 6.25% than I like him at 33.33%. That's a good development. Malik Muhammad, a little bit interesting to see a big fall from him, if you consider that it might be because of his actual play on the field. But I don't think it has so much to do with his play on the field as it does with just the fact that last week he was getting to mix in with the starters, plus he played all the snaps with the backups. And so that kind of double dip and, snaps. Those guys were actually the dudes who played the most. The dudes that played some with the starters, but then played all with the backups. And Malik Muhammad just kind of falls into that bucket. The rest are pretty self-explanatory. The others are really self-explanatory too, as far as just, last week, Jaron Thompson played like 17 snaps, right? This week he played 61. I think he played all but 1 snap of the game, or all but 3 snaps of the whole game. Jalen Ford last week only played 39% of snaps. This week, Jalen Ford played every snap, right? Jahdae Barron was up 56%. Ryan Watts was up 37%. Barron Sorrell played 65% of snaps. He was up 26%. Alfred Collins was up 26% of snaps, from 35 to 61. David Benda goes from 62 to 86. Byron Murphy goes up 17% of snaps, all the way to 56.25. Same with Catalan, same with Burke. The only other guy that had a real big difference in his snap rate, over 10% from last week to this week, would have been Vernon Broughton. And Vernon Broughton played reasonably well this week. I get tilted that it feels like the team thinks that the starters are certainly going to be Byron Murphy and Alfred Collins is the first 2 guys out there at nose and defensive tackle. And why is it not Byron Murphy and Tavandre Sweat? I don't get it. They run out Sweat out there like he's one of the 2s. Like, I understand these guys are all like 1A and 1B and stuff like that, but if we're going to have one thing coming out of this game, and look, we're going to talk a lot about, golly, there's some Anthony Hill and Ethan Burke and Byron Murphy, and to some degree, Barron Sorrell, right? Barron Sorrell came back to life in this game. Jaron Thompson didn't do much of anything last game. Jahdae Barron didn't do much of anything last game. These guys all came back. They're all back in the fray, right? They're out of that sub-replacement level stuff. Alfred Collins still isn't. I'm just like, man, am I just missing him making plays or something? And I pull up the official Texas statistics. Not that I trust these things. If I trusted these things, I wouldn't do the deep dig. But it's like they have him for 1 assisted tackle. I mean, Alfred Collins played. He played 61% of the snaps versus Alabama. I think that it says a lot that Texas was able to do all that it was able to do, having such an unproductive player on the football field as often as 61% of snaps as Alfred Collins has been. And that's just the way it is. I think that we're going to start to see his snap count tick down a little bit as they begin to realize that there's a ton of things they can do as far as moving these guys around, getting them in different ways. I think the reason why Alfred Collins' snap count on this game was so very high was because of the fact that they can also play him at the jack defensive end. And to me, I just think like you kind of play that a lot, right? It's that 4-down look where they actually put him at the jack. They move Barron Sorrell over to the buck, and then they have whatever 2 interior offense. It's usually like Byron Murphy and Tavandre Sweat, or sometimes it's Byron Murphy and Vernon Broughton or something like that. Whenever you have that kind of 4-man, that big 4-man front, and you have the 3 linebackers behind him, usually involving Jet Bush as the outside linebacker in that setup. I mean, that's a good run-stopping setup. I have no issue with Alfred Collins in that kind of role. He's big, he's long, he can set an edge. But man, it's like Jim Nagy said. It's like you see the flashes. We've seen 1 flash out of him. Now after 57 total snaps on the season. So we'll talk more about Collins whenever we get, probably tomorrow, start talking about the sub replacement level players. But that's as far as the snap counts, sort of where we're looking with this. Good to see the main guys getting their snap counts all the way up. Good to see guys like Barron Sorrell finally showing up. Keaton Crawford actually kind of making some plays, right? But boy, dude, how about that Ethan Burke? How about that Anthony Hill? Look, we're going to talk about all these guys. Blake, I think that before we get into the rankings, though, it's a good spot here to. Oh wait, no. We're going to get into the rankings right now, but first we're going to throw to a quick break because it's an epic tease, and then we have a big note from one of our sponsors next.
This Orangebloods recruiting flashback focuses on one of the best defensive playmakers for the Texas program over the last decade. I'm talking about edge rusher Joseph Ossai. Ossai was one of the best players to come out of Tom Herman's 2018 recruiting class, although he was a low 4-star prospect who only ranked number 31 in the state by Rivals.com. Not a single recruiting service had him ranked as an elite prospect or inside of a national top 125 list. When we look at Ossai's recruitment, it was pretty cut and dry fairly early on that there were 3 schools that stood out above the rest. From the summer of 2017 all the way into October and November, Ossai kept a top 3 of Texas, Texas A&M, and Notre Dame. Of the Longhorns, Ossai said that Todd Orlando and Oscar Giles used the following sales pitch on him. Quote, "They tell me I could be that Nashawn Hughes type of player. When I watch some of these close games that they've been in, I can place myself in that defense and see myself making the moves to finish those plays. I watch how I could impact the defense and picture helping some of those close games be wins." The battle eventually turned into a Texas versus Texas A&M battle, with Tom Herman's staff taking on a Jimbo Fisher staff that had just replaced Kevin Sumlin. In fact, the Aggies had been considered the heavy frontrunner for Ossai, but the dynamics of his recruitment changed the moment Sumlin was fired from Texas A&M. It was the opening that the Longhorns dearly needed and received. In fact, by the time January had rolled around, Orangebloods was reporting from an A&M source that the Longhorns had taken the lead for Ossai. On the last weekend before signing day, Ossai took a surprise official visit to Oregon, but it still turned out to be a battle between the Longhorns and Aggies all the way up until signing day, when he eventually chose the Longhorns.
Yes, football with friends is fun as hell. I'm Alex Dunlap here with you on a big Monday, a victory Monday here on the Orangebloods Live YouTube channel. So happy to be with you guys today. We have, of course, we got Hack, we got LFG, Archer. How are all of you guys doing, man? So good to see you, Brad Davis. Thank you guys so much for being in the chat. Thank you so much for tuning in here to Football with Friends. We're going to do our best to get through it. Some connection issues. I'm getting on the phone with Spectrum after this and tell them, get over here. Do you know who you can call anytime? Literally anytime. Val Garcia at Valen Realty. Val Garcia at Valen oh my God. Look at Val Garcia. Hey, one of us. Listen, Val Garcia, he's in the chat. He's a big fan. And guess what he's going to do? He's going to sell your house for free. If you're a teacher, if you're in the ministries, he's been doing it for years. These are his people. They're the people. He cares about all his clients, but the ones that are very, very special to him are the kind of people that helped him the most whenever he was growing up. And those were his teachers. Those were the people that worked in his public schools and the people who worked in the ministries. Val Garcia came up from South Texas to the DFW area as a young man, an English as a second language student. Ended up going to work, building homes, selling power equipment, power drills, power tools, power supplies, working on homes, working with his hands, just a man's man. And if you want somebody who understands like the craftsmanship of the home, who understands the whole buying process from front to back, if you call him and you let him know that you heard about Valen Realty here on Football with Friends, even if you're not in the ministry, even if you are not an educator, he will still sell your house for half price. So 1.5%. That is literally a savings of probably anywhere from $5,000 to $20,000. Right in your, I mean, could you use 20K? I could use 20K. I think we all could. Who wouldn't love to have an extra $12,000 sitting in their bank account? Well, you can, and you can have the best buying and selling experience of your home in the whole Dallas area with our guy, Val Garcia at Valen Realty. Again, valenrealty.com. Val Garcia can be reached 469-647-8729. Please give him a call. And if you know somebody buying or selling in DFW, the referral would mean a lot to him and a lot to me and a lot to our community here as we kind of try and build the show, get sponsors, stuff like that. ValenRealty.com. Especially if you know a teacher, please don't let them pay that extra money. These teachers need all the extra cash that they can get. All right. Blake, let me know if the internet goes out, please. Thank you. All right. Let's see here. The deep dig. You guys ready for this? All right. Alabama production sheet. Up to the number 1 spot in the deep dig coming out of week 2 of 3 spots from last week is linebacker Jalen Ford. He's at number 1. He's actually tied at number 2 with David Benda, but as far as his snaps per production caused, he's sitting at 7 snaps per production caused, which, as we discussed last week, I'll go over it again very, very, very quickly here because you guys are going to get tired of hearing this. But we're talking about, and all these have I don't have it all memorized. It's all automated now, but I think it goes like this. Tackles are worth 1 point. Assisted tackles are worth half a point. Sacks are worth 2.5 points. Quarterback hits are worth a point. Quarterback pressures are worth a point. TFLs are worth 2 points. Batted passes are worth a point. Fumbles caused are worth 3 points. Fumble recoveries are worth 1 point. Run stuffs are worth 1 point. Pass breakups are worth 1 point. Interceptions are worth 3 points. Blow ups, where that's a pass breakup where you blow up where you blow the guy up. You just awesome, fun play, right? Those are worth 2 points. Touchdowns are worth 6 points. Safeties are worth 3 points because you get the 2 points that you get from the play, and you also get the turnover. You get a lockdown bonus if you're a DB that's prorated up to 3 points for outside corners and or 2 points for safeties and nickel corners. You get 1 point subtracted for completions allowed, 1 point subtracted for missed tackles, 2 points subtracted for coverage burns, 1 point subtracted for penalties, 1 point subtracted for blown contains. So you take those numbers, you add them all up, right? I chart all those things. And, there's cool stuff that you can come to with it. You get to see you can look at then you can start like dividing stuff and just say like, well, what's the completion percentage that they've allowed so far this year? How many snaps per coverage burn, if applicable, or how many snaps per missed tackle, or, say how many snaps per sack, hit, pressure, or TFL. Like sometimes we'll talk about line disruption, right? Stuff like that. But just this is overall disruption, production, all the rest. So Jalen Ford is now at the very top in this game. The deep dig has him at five total tackles. If you look at just the assists plus the solo, one separate TFL and 2 run stuffs, no missed tackles, no blown contains, no anything like that. It's a really good game for Jalen Ford. David Benda in this game, it was David Benda. And here's the thing. I had David Benda, and I'm going to have to go back and look at this, Blake, because this won't go final on the website until tomorrow whenever I start writing it. But did you think that David Benda should have gotten half a sack with Tavandre Sweat on that one play?
I thought so at the time, for sure.
Yeah. They didn't give it to him, I don't think. Let me just look. I had the Texas stat sheet pulled up, but I gave them each a half a sack for that. So they only gave Benda 1 sack, and they gave Sweat a whole sack. I gave them each a half a sack. I'm going to go back and watch it. What do you guys think in the chat? Could you guys tell me what you think, whether Benda deserves half a sack? because I watched it back a few times. I'm gonna watch it back again. Whenever the stats differ, look, the snap counts will always differ from cockamamie PFF, because PFF grades plays where they like line up and spike the ball, or the punts or punt returns, stuff like this, plays that get whistled dead by penalty, all the rest of it. This is just, pure defensive plays. But anyway, as far as I think it's the one where he fell and got, where Benda fell and got back up. No, that was all Benda, right? That was all Benda. That was such a sick and athletic play to see him. I think I actually made a note about that here, just to say that where he was able to, just an all-star play on the sack. It was like he did like a Green Bay, like an up down, like you used to have to do in football practice.
Isn't it fun that we're trying to decipher which sack was the one we're talking about? There were so many sacks by the Texas defense against Alabama that were.
I'm telling you, man, it was it was bombs away. How many were there? I mean,
I think there were 5, right? I'm trying to remember.
For Texas?
For Texas, yeah.
No, I mean, no, because there was
I think I saw that on Twitter, so that could be way off.
Well, think about it. So Burke had 1, Hill had 2, Benda had either 1 or 1.5, and Sweat had either 1 or 1.5.
Yeah, so 5. Okay.
Yeah. Still, it's a lot of sacks, man. It's good.
It's a lot of sacks. I wasn't. Yes, 5 is not a low.
But but no, I'm not talking about that play. But that was an awesome play. He kind of fell down, did the Green Bay. Got up, just a super. I mean, he looked like a pouncing jungle cat. So those two guys, man, it's awesome. You have Jalen Ford and David Bender right here at the very top of tier 1. And Blake, for you, is it just official? There's no more worry about David Bender. It's not too early to say. It's fine to say now. You don't need to worry.
100%. That concern is just gone. It vanished in one game. I mean,
look at this guy, Surfer Boy 3000. Man, you're a lot nicer than some of those Alabama guys last week. Where's that white sauce Alabama nerd from last week? When's he going to come back on? He said, I'm going to come back on Monday, and I'm going to pop right back in this chat with my white Alabama.
There have been dudes all last week. There were Bama fans on every show in the chat talking crap. None of them came back today, but the Georgia fans are here.
Yeah, the Georgia fans. Hey, Surfer Boy 3K, man. You're my kind of guy for sure. But yeah, man, I'll send a big thank you note for AD Mitchell. I think everybody will.
Well, you didn't give him to us. We kind of just took him.
He's the one who took off, man. Old Pickens said that, man. Old Pickens said that dude's next, man. It's like AD Mitchell's a G, man. Pickens was right. That's one of the most talented wide receivers in the whole league. Whenever he says somebody's super sick, man, you should definitely take notice. Not that anybody on Pittsburgh looked any good yesterday. Let's see. Okay, so both those guys up at the very top, they're both in tier 1. Let me see. I'll do like a quick screen share here. I don't want to share that. How about I share this thing? Share. Am I sharing this thing? Okay.
Looks good.
Market. Oh, that's not it. Okay. So here we go. Also here in tier 1, no change, but Byron Murphy just keeps sticking here in tier 1. So there's your tier 1 guys. Jalen Ford moves up 3 spots. David Benda, no change with him. Byron Murphy, no change with him. The main thing that kind of changed here at the top was that Tavandre Sweat, of course, falls from right at the very top into tier 2. And we'll talk about these kind of tier 2 guys here in a minute. These tier 2 guys are really, really sneaking up on these tier 1 guys, right? It's really not that big a difference. So what's interesting too is that when I look at this, typically what I would do when I would get to the sub replacement level, I would only look at the players who've gotten some production, right? And take the average of those guys. And that would be at 4.72. So that would technically put the sub replacement level right here at Barron Sorrell. But that wouldn't have worked, just given the context of how things have happened and the fact that Jaron Thompson, Jade Barron, Barron Sorrell, they just didn't play much last week. So what I did in order to justify it was I just took all the production, took the average of even these 5 guys that haven't produced. It comes out to 4.02. That made perfect sense right here to where we have, 13 guys before we get to the sub replacement level players. So there's your tier 1, those guys. And what's just so awesome about Byron Murphy, it's like what Sark says and what I always say, what I've said from the very beginning. He does it's the whole run stuff thing, right? It's the fact that sometimes he'll just, Sark said it. He takes on double teams, and he's just such a G, dude. Like, he's a Bulldog's bulldog. And I'm proud of Cody for the call he made that he beat me in the damn game. The final takes. We're gonna start having Cody on Fridays and playing final takes, man. I love final takes Fridays. It's almost as I think it's a better idea than the Ask Alex Anything Fridays, right? We're still getting things worked out, right? Who knows? But I think it's a good game. But Cody said, man, he thinks that the guy that was going to really pop out this game will be the guy that we hadn't talked about all week, just because he's just Mr. Dependable, Mr. Consistent. Let's look and see what he did here in this one that was able to kind of keep him up there whenever all these other guys are just gunning for his spot. So he's always way down. So 3 total tackles, 1 quarterback hit, 3 pressures, 2 run stuffs. He did have 1 missed tackle. So without that 1 missed tackle, would he have been? Yeah, if he didn't miss the tackle, dude, without the missed tackle, he would be the top player on defense because then he would have 12.5. And his snaps per production caused is the best among tier 1. So Jalen Ford, 7 snaps per production caused. David Binda, 7.25 snaps per production caused. Byron Murphy, 4.87. That's the rankings on the defense. Your number 1, your number 2, and your number 3 player production-wise over the course of the first 2 games. Jalen Ford and Binda technically tied, but Jalen Ford has been a slight bit more efficient because he's played 3 less snaps, 84 snaps compared to Binda's 87. Byron Murphy on just 56 snaps, creating disruption once every 4.87, is sitting right here at 8.41% market share of the team's production. Okay, we get to the second tier, tier 2, and that's 4, 5, 6, and 7. And all of these guys, with the exception of Tavandre Sweat, have all moved up a tier. They're all moving up in the world. Okay, one of them was Ryan Watts, and I'm just, it's weird because like I do this show now. Whenever I'm having to wake up earlier because of this. Like, I didn't think the show was going to affect that much of my day-to-day life and my day-to-day routine, because I told Ketchum when he asked me about this thing, can you do it? Like, hey, let's go ahead and add 2 hours of radio onto your schedule every weekday. I was like, how am I going to do that? I'm already at my capacity. Like, I don't have time to really do anything else during the day. There's almost not enough hours to get done the deep dig and get my work done for roster watch and the waiver column and the matchup tools and the betting tools and the flex rankings and the ranking sheets and the DFS cheat sheets and the immediate reaction to Sark's press conference and writing the deep dig and writing the other deep dig and doing the prediction show for Prize Picks and like getting ready for the weekend of radio. And it really is every day. I'm having to get up a little bit early because it's still, I figured, well, this will be fine, because basically all I'm really missing is just driving my kids around to their after school stuff. Right. And so if I'm getting a little extra money to where I can just hire our friend here in the neighborhood to take him to jujitsu, and I can just go pick him up or get there a little bit late for it. Or get him to football where I'm a little bit late for it, or cheer, or whatever else. It's like, it's like that would have been time I wouldn't have been doing really much of anything anyway. Right. So it's like, it'll be fine. But what I realized is I don't want to come on this show at 3:30 p.m. on a Monday and not have the deep dig ready, because I want to have something to talk about. I want to present you guys with information that's going to be valuable to you. I want the show to be good. Right. And so in the past, I would have been like, I wouldn't have had a hard deadline by like 2:50 to get everything done by then, starting on Sunday night and then working all Monday morning and then Monday through the day. Right. I would have been like maybe done through the third quarter and then take the kids and then come back home and try to get it done maybe before dinner or like all the rest of it. So I'm literally just looking at this after I've done the data and put it in and made the sheets, made the charts, and now I'm just thinking about what it means. So like I'm looking at Ryan Watson, I'm like, well, what happened with Ryan Watts? Why did he move up so much? And I think what it is that okay, so he got 2.39 points for a lockdown bonus, which is good. I mean, he played a super high percentage of snaps. That's the thing about Watts too. Him and 9, Gavin Holmes, right? Yep. They're the two corners that stick on their side, right? Or not on their side, but they either stick to the boundary side or the field side, like, right? The short side of the field, the boundary side of the field. Another interesting thing about that, just look, I promise I'll get back to Watts. But another interesting thing about that is in this game, while the corners would move, the safeties wouldn't move. So just kind of thought that was interesting. I think for some reason for this game, I haven't thought about the reasons why for that at all. But the safeties, even if, let's say Jaron Thompson started out for the first few snaps, he was the boundary safety, but then the play went to the other side of the field and Watts would have gone over there to the boundary, the short side of the field. Jaron Thompson would have just stayed over on the field side. So that wasn't how they did it versus Rice. Watts had 5 tackles that we have him for here. The only time that he was thrown at, he generated a pass breakup and he got 2.39 points for his lockdown bonus, whereas a lot of these other guys got their lockdown bonus completely erased and demolished because of coverage burns. There were some coverage burns in this game. Who all got burned? Gavin Holmes. Well, Gavin Holmes it's automatically a coverage burn if you get pass interference or defensive holding. Jahdae Barron had a coverage burn. And Jaron Thompson had a coverage burn. So that kind of stinks, right? The two guys that got the interceptions got a little of that wiped away by coverage burns. Jahdae Barron he also had a missed tackle. He also had a blown contain. So he didn't move up quite as much as you would think because he had a big interception and a truly game-changing play. Watts just had a solid game, man. They throw at him. He just breaks up the pass, makes a bunch of tackles. He's a good player. He's a better player than Jim Nagy was giving him credit for whenever he came on this show, talking about these Senior Bowl guys. So he's right there at the top of tier 2. Let's go back to the production sheet. Tavandre Sweat falls 4 spots, but it wasn't like he wasn't any good. And if it turns out, he's still the 5th best player on defense right now. And if it turns out that I go back and David Benda is not responsible for some. Yeah, I think he is though. He's got to be responsible for some part of that sack with Sweat. I'll also look at PF. I don't care about what PFF says. I'm just gonna go look at it on my own. Blake, did anybody in chat say they thought that Benda deserved half a sack on that one, or were they just talking about the Benda sack?
I think they were just talking about the Benda sack. They were trying to figure out exactly which one it was. But I think so. I'd have to rewatch the play, but I thought so.
I wish I could just do but you can't do that screen share because of copyright.
Maybe if it's just a still image.
Let's not do it.
We won't mess with it.
Yeah, I got to make some extra cheese, dog. I got to pay for this. This girl will take my kids to all this stuff, man. We can't be getting demonetized around here.
JD Hack thinks so.
Yeah. Hacker says that it's half. I kind of think it's half, dude. And this is exactly right, man. Archer says that Sweat was doubled. All these guys get doubled a lot, right? But let's see. Oh wait, that wasn't the one I wanted to put up. Not that it's bad though. Surfer Boy said Texas had to find a way to be on point against teams like Kansas, Baylor, and TCU this season. Would be great to be Big 12 champs coming to the SEC. Surfer Boy, you are one hell of a Georgia fan, brother. Are Georgia fans nicer than Bama fans? I'll bet you that Surfer Boy is not your traditional Georgia fan.
I think when your team is winning national championships, you're probably in a pretty good mood all the time.
Yeah, it's probably true. Yeah. These Bama guys are a little bit more tilted these days. Okay, but Archer was saying that Sweat was doubled all day. He was, dude. And he's just like he doesn't care. He's like Honey Badger, dude. He does not care. In this game, I thought it was a good game for him. Tavandre Sweat in this spot. He had no missed tackles. He only had the one assisted tackle. I gave him half a sack. If it turns out that that's a full sack, I'm going to watch it back. But I think I'm just going to give him half. He also had two separate run stuff. So just quietly, not a Byron Murphy game. I don't know why they're not playing him with that first group that goes in there. For the life of me, I don't understand why they're not playing him over Alfred Collins with that first defensive tackle group. The first time that what's the first time that I saw Tavandre Sweat just lined up in what is the best alignment for Texas, which is Byron Murphy next to Tavandre Sweat? When's the first time that we even saw that? So we didn't see it. Oh, well, all right. So they actually started out like that because they started out with the sub package with Alfred Collins at the jack. Okay. Let's just say when it's a regular alignment, whenever you have Sorrell and you have Burke in. Okay. So 90, 95, then it comes in 93 and 45. Those guys are paired up 90 and 95 all the way through the second one, all the way through the third one. The fourth one, you have the fourth series, you have 93, 45, 93, 45, 90 and 95. Fifth series, we're at we're coming into halftime, 90, 95, 90, 95, 93 and 45, 93 and 45, ends with 93 and 45. To start the second half, it starts the same way as the first half did with that same sort of sub package stuff. Alfred Collins at the jack, Baron Sorrell at the buck, 90 and 93 on the inside. But then once they go back to their regular nickel base, it is Sorrell and Burke, jack and buck, noses 90, tackles 95. And then halfway through this first series of the second half was the first time that I'm sorry. It still didn't happen because Alfred Collins was still at the jack then. So that's another sub package. That's that same Jet Bush sub package. We didn't see it there. Did we even see it? I thought we saw it once. Nope. We didn't see it once when they weren't in a sub package because they went to the sub package, that Christopher Ross, Anthony Hill sub package where they go to 3 down linemen, 3 linebackers, but it's the speed linebacker package, that kind of that flex linebacker package that we talked about earlier where Anthony Hill's in there making plays, just looking like such a G. I can't wait to talk about Hill. 90 and 93 are next to each other then. They don't play like in this game. This game is going to give us the best idea of how they plan on deploying these guys. And the fact of the matter is that versus Alabama in the game that you must win, that's what Bo Davis likes best. There must be something about the combination of those two that they think is really good. If Alfred Collins continues to just put up donuts like this, though, you can't have him he can't be playing 60-something% of snaps. He's already getting the extra snaps because of this that jet push sub package. Well, I wish we knew the names of these sub packages. We could just call them run sub package and speed sub package. I don't really know what they're called, but it's just in the sub packages that you get those two guys lined up next to one another, and it feels like they're just such good compliments, man. Both those guys are such bulldogs. Money B saying Jeb Bush was pretty active. He was kind of in on some plays. He did have a quarterback hit, but he didn't do much else besides that. So that's the Tavandre Sweat thing. With Tavandre Sweat, it wasn't quite. If we go back to the player participation, he played basically the same amount of snaps as he played last week. He played 52% of snaps last week. He played 52% of snaps this week. So it wasn't like there was less. It was just, man, Tavandre Sweat really went bum hunting versus Rice, right? Whereas in what bum hunting means, that's just like that's a poker term. You probably use it for other things. It's just like in DFS, people talk about bum hunting. It's where you go and you look for players who are kind of bad. And you go and target them and try and beat them at the games and take their money. Tavandre Sweat took full advantage. Like he went bum hunting versus Rice. Whenever Alfred Collins had the chance to get teed up for some of those same big plays, that same production, all he did was flash once. And he didn't flash at all versus Alabama. So everybody else was great. We're about to get to Ethan Burke. We're about to get we're about to get to the exciting stuff, and we still have to talk about the Monday Night Football tonight. We still have to put in some prize picks, but I'm most excited to talk about Ethan Burke. I want to talk about Anthony Hill. I want to talk about how this thing is coming together. I want to come together here as friends and talk about how this whole thing is coming together because it's exciting, and we're going to do it next.
This Orangebloods recruiting flashback takes a look at arguably the most high-profile recruitment in the history of the Texas football program, at least until Arch Manning came along. Yes, I'm talking about former Texas quarterback Chris Sims, who was the nation's #1 ranked prospect when he came out of New Jersey in 1999. Sims took a look around all over the nation early in his recruitment, visiting the likes of Ohio State and Penn State, before eventually setting on his top two. The two UTs, Texas and Tennessee, were his two finalists. After taking an official visit to Austin in the fall of 1998, the Longhorns appeared to be poised to land Sims, which partly helped steer Eli Manning, who also visited Texas in the fall of 1998, to Ole Miss. Yet, when Sims announced his decision on December 15th on the MSG network, he picked the Vols over the Longhorns. Matt Brown later admitted that the Texas coaching staff was shocked by the news. Quote, "I'm proud to be a Vol, and it's a good place for me," Sims said upon his announcement. "I'm a big fan of Coach Fulmer, and I think it fits me right. I feel so relieved, and I can finally get back to being a high schooler and enjoying myself." Yet, the truth of the matter is that Sims wasn't really relieved about the decision, and word got around quickly that he was wavering on his commitment to the Vols almost as soon as he made the announcement. I can remember talking to a Texas source on January 1st of 1999, just before the Longhorns played Mississippi State in the Cotton Bowl, that the Longhorns were going to flip Sims away from Tennessee. A few days following the New Year's Bowl game, Sims called Texas assistant coach Tim Brewster to tell him that he was having second thoughts. Less than 3 weeks later, Sims sat down with his parents, Diana and Phil, you might have heard of him, to reevaluate the decision. The next day, he called Tennessee head coach Phil Fulmer to deliver the news. Sims said, quote, "The hardest thing I ever did in my life. The first thing he said to me was, 'Chris, I'm down here in Alabama recruiting you the best receiver in the country,' end quote." One day later, Sims made things official by flipping his commitment to the Longhorns, which helped cement a #1 overall recruiting class for Brown and his coaching staff. It proved to be a game changer for the Longhorns, as evidenced by the commitment of the big three wide receivers in the following recruiting class: B.J. Johnson, Roy Williams, and Sloan Thomas, as well as paving the way for Cedric Benson's commitment to the Longhorns in the 2001 recruiting class. Ultimately, it was one of the great recruiting moments in the history of the Texas football program.
Oh, yes, football with friends. It's fun as hell, man. I'm having a great time here today with you guys. So happy to see everybody here in the chat. Everybody here coming to tune in the afterglow of this big win. Of course, if this is your first time listening, you can find me on Twitter at Alex Dunlap NFL. You can email me if you're a potential sponsor for the show. We need more sponsors. We need come on, guys. Let's build this show, man. Let's make it something big, dude. Big and mighty and powerful, right? And also something where we read some more commercials. So you can email me that. But also, if you just want things, if there are things you'd like me to talk about, if you have suggestions, one of the things that not that somebody emailed me, but somebody told me on Orangebloods was that my background sucked. So I changed the background. Like, I definitely listened to I listened to it. I'm not going to listen if you make fun of my hair, because my hair is not orange. I don't know why it's Blake, why does it look like this? Hey, Blake, speaking of orange, throw up the Orangebloods thing. We have a big promo going on right now at Orangebloods, 60-day free trial using code Texas Arrives. I'll tell you this, and I don't know whether this is like a good sales pitch or whether it's like super bad. This is super bad to say. You like once you try it out for 60 days, you're basically like, you're stuck for the rest of your life. There's no way you're ever quitting. I'm sorry. So just keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. It won't be like you're stuck. You can cancel whenever you want, but you won't. I mean, I joined for the Ryan Paraloo recruitment back in 2005. I joined up for a free month in 2005 to learn about Ryan Paraloo and whether he's going to come to Texas. Next thing you know, dude, here I am. Been working for this site for like 13 years and get on here and babble for 2 hours a day talking about the anyway, 60-day free trial code Texas arrives. All right. We just want to know if Sark copied your hairstyle or if you copied it. What, Sark? He didn't have orange hair. Oh, you mean the actual style? Sark's got good style, man, except for those goofy glasses with the thin little orange brims around the side. If I have one complaint really about Sark, it's probably those glasses, dude. Straight out of the year 2004 from a spring break commercial at Panama Beach. Okay. Here we go. Back to the deep dig. So we were still golly, every time I come back to this screen where the chat is and I just look at my hair, it does look orange. Okay. What, Blake, does it always look like that? Is it just the lighting today or something? It got different lighting.
It's definitely more orange than usual. I don't know exactly why, but it is.
It's been a burnt orange weekend. I tweeted yesterday, man. It's been one of these. No, I didn't admit it's orange, Brent Dickey. If Nathan says I'm a ginger, you guys are about to get banned from the Specs chat. You'll get banned from the Specs chat line. Of course, the chat the chat line brought. There we go. Blake, seriously, can we look into getting one of these hats? I would love it. We could send them out to anybody that sends a super chat. Okay. All right. Back to the deep dig. Focus. All right. The production sheet. So we talked about Tavandre Sweat. All right. Now it's time to talk about Ethan Burke. And somebody in the chat earlier said this thing too that said, and I'd be interested to hear what he meant by this, because there was a time during the game that I kind of thought the same thing. That I was like, Burke shouldn't Burke be credited with 2 sacks? And then is that what he was saying? Let me see. It was somebody. Who was it who said Burke should have 2 sacks? Something like this. It was in the chat just a minute ago. Oh, Mick Biscuit. Is this what you were talking about, brother? Like you were saying he should have 2 sacks in this game or 2 sacks on the season? Because I think what I like, the only thing that I thought, yeah, he's saying he got jobbed to sack. What I think what happened is they just is they counted that one as a TFL, because I think they might have said that he'd already turned into a runner. Maybe he'd already, I looked at it and I'm like,
I think you're right. I think they determined that was a QB draw, and he was tackled.
Yeah, I think he might have barely crossed the line of scrimmage, and then whenever he goes back, tries to get away, because I gave him a sack at first, and I'll always go look. I won't look at the tackle numbers and stuff like that, and half of my stuff I can't double check versus Texas, but with TFLs, sacks, interceptions, all that, like I always go check them just like in case. Did the broadcast, did it miss something? Was there, and so when I saw that, I went and looked there. I went and looked like ESPN. I went and looked at, God, I mean, God bless me for even going to this horrible web. But I went to PFF. Very, very shamefully. I went to Pro Football Focus. And they only had it at 1 sack too. And so I was just like, all right, so what it is, I went back and looked. I'm like, maybe this is something where they just kind of say he's a runner there. So yeah, I mean, I get it. He was climbing the pocket. I think it makes sense. Like to my eyes, it kind of looked like it, but I could also see why everybody gave it like, I just, you know what, if I were to say that, Ethan Burke had 2 sacks, guess what would happen on our lovely Orangebloods on the message boards? I would be having to babysit a thread for the whole rest of the day with people saying, well, why does the deep dig say you have 2 sacks? How can we even trust anything that you write? But Alex, how can we trust any of your other stats if you say that's a sack? Look, I see here that John Bianco says it was in TFL. So I think that's just the way, that's just the way it's going to get recorded in the deep dig. for posterity's sake. Okay. Ethan Burke moves up 6 spots to number 6 on the whole team. Number 6. And he's literally within striking distance of the top tier. And he also has among players who actually have like played, none of these guys are technically 100 snap qualifiers yet, but Ethan Burke's played 49 snaps. That's compared to like Byron Murphy's played 56 snaps, right? Tavandre Sweat's played 60. Out of all these guys in the top 2 tiers, all these guys have at least 46 snaps, right? Ethan Burke has the 3rd lowest snaps per disruption caused at once every 4.90 snaps. And now what you can say is like, all right, well, a lot of that came versus Rice. And to that, I'd say, yep, that's true. But a lot of it came versus Alabama. I was like, whoa, what? So if you take the average of those two things, you're going to probably get the kind of middling school that Texas plays in this crap conference that they've been doomed. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. In this bad conference that they've been doomed to this millstone that they've had hanging around their necks for the last 20. What is it, Blake? 23 years we've had this Big 12 millstone around our necks. Schools like Baylor and Iowa State, Kansas, even Kansas State. I mean, these Texas Tech, all these schools, man, these are directional schools. Texas does not belong in this conference. And with that being said, you figure that like these schools are basically the average of Alabama and Rice, right? Take the two, add them both together, divide it in half. You got the average. It's like that's probably about right, right? So I mean, I don't think that a 4.90 can be sustainable. Any of this stuff, a 4.87 could be sustained. Like, what's the best anybody even had last year? Like, if I'm just looking at a 100 snap sample. Let's see how many snaps per disruption allowed. I remember that, guys who were total studs like Hassan Ridgeway or players like this would get sometimes down in the 5s. I think that's what my memory's telling me. So let's just see here. So no, last year, nobody who would qualify got even close. On 39 snaps last year, though, we should say Ethan Burke on 39 snaps did have snaps per production once every 3.63 snaps. If what is it? If they bark as puppies, they're going to bark as dogs. What is that, Blake? They bite his puppy. If they're something about is that something about that? Happy as a puppy with 2 Peters. What is it? What is that? If they bark as a dog, they're going to bite as a.
If they bark as a puppy, they'll bite as a dog. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, something. It's like if they're going to
or bite as a
look.
puppy.
If they're going to be good players, you're going to know it when they're a lot younger. Okay, it's good for the goose. It's good for the gander. Right? It's like the canary in the coal mine. So look, no one came close in 2022 to that snaps per disruption allowed. Let's go to 2021. 2021 in the deep dig. Go to the market share percentages. Snaps per disruption caused. Byron Murphy in his first year on 276 snaps generated production once every 5.87. That's been for the last 3 years up until now. That had been the gold standard. You know what we do around here? We can go back to 2020 deep dig. Let's just even see back then. So market share stuff, snaps per production, sort by that. Joseph Ossai on 542 snaps in his big season before he left for the pros, generated production once every 6.28 snaps. He was the leader. Let's go to 2019. Deep dig. Do I even have 2019 on okay. I don't have a shortcut for 2019. So we're not going to go to it. It's going to take me an hour to go find that thing. It's an absurd. I kind of want to find it though. I'd like to go back and do this because it's not just, it's the fact that I would say this is not sustainable. They're not going to be able to do this over the course of the season. And that's probably true. But the fact is a lot of this production came against Alabama and that dude, JC Blatham, I know people say he's not that good and like whatever, like he's actually good. The right tackle over there, that's not an easy guy to convert against. He was stonewalling a lot of these guys. He was, I mean, look at his reps versus Alfred Collins. Look at some of his reps versus Barron Sorrell. It was not pretty at all for Texas on some of those. Deep dig 2019. See, this isn't that hard to do. Just pull it right up. Heck, I could even go back to 2018, 2017, 2016, 2015. We'll see where this thing takes us. We'll see where this rabbit hole takes us. Let's see. In 2019, the best qualifier here who played any number of snaps was DeMarvion Overshone on 231 snaps. He was a DB at the time, generated production once every 6.01. What about 2018? I mean, so do you guys get what I'm saying here? We're talking about like a historic level of efficiency among these players, and it's Ethan Burke and it's Byron Murphy, and to some degree it's David Benda, to some degree it's Jalen Ford. And look, I'll just go ahead and put the spoiler alert out there. The best is Anthony Hill. He's up 2 spots to number 11. To number 7. He's right here in tier 2. He would have moved up a little bit more had he had not missed. Did he miss a tackle? I think he missed a tackle. Yeah, Anthony Hill. Basically, you know, 4 total tackles, 2 sacks, 1 missed tackle. And he is sitting right now at 46 total snaps. Snaps per production is 4.84. So Ford is every 7 snaps. Just we're putting this into, we're talking about the best player efficiency wise from the team going back now to, we're about to talk about 2018. So just remember, Ford is at 7, Ben is at 7.25, Byron Murphy's at 4.87. After playing Alabama, okay, Watts is at 6.84, Sweat is at 5.85, Burke is at 4.90, Anthony Hill is at 4.84. All right, let's look at 2018. We've talked about Joseph Ossai and DeMarvion Overshone, and who knows, like, let's see who the most efficient guy was in 2018. I wish my brain was still snappy enough to remember all this stuff off the top of my head. Let's see, best snaps per production that year from anybody that played a decent number of snaps. It was, again, Joseph Ossai. He only played 61 snaps, but it was every 5.81 on the season. Other than that, you had Gary Johnson and Charles Omenihu, who were both good players. Charles was like 8.14. Gary Johnson was at 7.74. Can I just keep doing this? 2017. Has there been anybody who's gone through a season and just done this? Hold on. It's 2017. Snaps per production caused. You had Puna Ford in 2017, once every 6.3 snaps. Then you have 3 guys who would go on to the NFL. Holton Hill at once every 6.52, Deshaun Elliott at once every 6.57, and Malik Jefferson at once every 7.11. I'm going back to 2016. In 2016, God, it's amazing how crappy the fonts and stuff used to look on here. Defensive market share for that year. Snaps per production from A to Z. That year of anybody who played. Do you know who was actually good in 2016? Brecken Hager. He played 481 snaps and he generated production once every 5.83 snaps. Brecken Hager, man, Westlake High School, one of us. But other than that, you got another guy like Malcolm Roach, who went on to play in the NFL, still is, once every 6.36 snaps. You know, we're still having. All right, I'll go back one more. Can I even get to 2015 here? Go to 2015. Just one more of these. Snaps per disruption caused. Filter from A to Z. Here's where you have a guy who kind of did it. And it was Hassan Ridgeway on 430 total snaps that year. The year he left for the pros. He generated production, or he caused disruption once every 5.31 snaps. And I guess that whole exercise was just to show you that what we're seeing right now, especially out of have you got 05, Nathan? No, I don't have it. I was just out of college back in 05. Man, I was was I on a tour bus in 05? Not quite. No. I was in a crappy van in I think I got into a tour bus around 09, maybe 2010. Let's see. I certainly wasn't charting the Texas Longhorns. Definitely watching them. Definitely signing up for Orangebloods. Like there's a sign up right now. Do you want to put up like 60-day free trial with code Texas Arrives? That's when I signed up for Orangebloods. 2000 was that 2005 that Perilou, Blake? I think it was 05.
You're asking the wrong person. I was 6 years old.
So crazy, man.
I think Perilou was before 05. I could be wrong though.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, that's what I was joining Orangebloods, man. Yeah. Catch him saying yes. So Catch is the guy to ask for sure. But anyways, 60-day free trial. If you do sign up now, like I said, I'm not sure it's the best pitch to say, but like if you sign up now, I mean, I'm sorry, you're basically just stuck with us. There's no way you're gonna quit. Okay. Anyway, so the point here is we just went through all those numbers, right? And we basically established what was the best one that we like. Maybe it was that Ossai in 2018. Yeah, at 5.81. That's Hassan Ridgeway at 5.31. And now I guess just to maybe if it just might help, just like we're talking about that being the high water mark, right? Or in this case, let's say like the low water mark. Okay. We have going to the deep dig now, and we'll just pull it right back up. We have these guys, and these are color coded, right? From the most, the most snaps per, one active production is graded by the deep dig, and it's color coded from blue to red. And this is odd because as you guys will see, it'll change during the season. Whenever some of these dudes who are just kind of dusty volume type of plays, right? Guys who just get the volume of snaps. Therefore, say like a guy down here, guys like Terrence Brooks, he's played 57 snaps. Alfred Collins, he's played 57 snaps. These guys are underperforming, right? Because they're playing the requisite number of snaps, but their snaps per production caused isn't as good, right? But through the course of the season, what's going to happen is this sheet and these rankings are sorted via the market share production that they've caused, right? So it's a volume metric that's measured here, not an efficiency metric. The reason we add snaps per production is so we can see, like, all right, let's look down here. It's like, oh, what's this guy? Like Derek Williams, like, man, like he's not getting the snaps, but look, he's on a little bit of volume. Jalen Gilbo has been good on a small little bit of volume. Like maybe even like I dog on Trill Carter. I mean, at least he's got a little bit of blue here, right? I mean, he's generating production, at least some kind of efficiency. What's just so cool about this team is the darkest blue of the blue, except for Austin Jordan, that just had that super great game versus Rice. It didn't play at all versus, and this is too small a sample, 10 snaps versus Rice, right? Austin Jordan here. That's why he fell like 5 spots. But you look, this is the bluest of the blue. So these aren't only your volume guys. What's so cool about this is that these are your efficiency guys. Your volume guys are the efficiency guys. Anthony Hill is not really a volume guy. Burke is not really a volume guy. They haven't played the 84 snaps of a Ford or the 87 of a Benda or the 73 of a Watts. But just look at the efficiency. It's all of them. It's just straight blue. It's just, I don't know that I've ever, like, it's just, it doesn't always look like that. Right? Maybe a good way to show you the reason, the way it kind of would normally look is I'll just go look at let's just look at the one from like last year, right? And we'll look at 2020 was last year, 2022. I'll just share this one. And if you go to like, say, just one of the production things from towards the end of the game. So like after the Baylor game, where's the Baylor production? The Baylor production sheet. Is this it? Something like, yeah. So you see in this one, it's like you got some of the efficiency guys here at the top, but then you got the rest of these dudes. It's like they're starting to get pink, like Ryan Watts. He played a lot of snaps, but the efficiency wasn't that great. Same with Anthony Cook, same with Deshaun Jameson, Ovi Agwofu. Baron Sorrell, I mean, he had some good stuff, but the efficiency wasn't that great, right? Here's Ethan Burke, that helps you project a breakout, right? It's like no volume. Look at the efficiency. And when we compare that to how 2023 looks, we'll go back and share it. Volume and efficiency. And that's against Bama in this top 2 tiers. So unbelievable, man. It's just quite, it's saying something. Tomorrow we'll get to tier 3. We'll get to the sub replacement level guys. I'm going to start on the offense. We'll get to that. We'll also talk a lot about your fantasy football waiver wires, because literally those are the only things that I'll be doing during the day tomorrow. And that's all I'll have to talk about. I could talk to you about having to, we could talk about, feeding the chickens or going out there and checking for snakes. We can talk about changing chlorine tablets in the pool or stuff like that. Those are the only things that I'm going to be doing tomorrow. So that's what we'll talk about then. We'll get started on offense. We'll have the offensive grades for you guys by the beginning of the Wednesday show. Blake, you want to talk just really quickly about Monday Night Football tonight? You got any, if you got to make a bet on it, anything that you're interested in here?
I think unfortunately we're going to run out of time on the Matt Stafford stuff, but for tonight's game, what do we really expect from the Jets? What are we really expecting this season?
I think that the defense is gonna play. I think that the defense, I think they might give Josh Allen a little bit of trouble. Mm-hmm. Let's just look at the lines here. Let's look at the money. Let's look at the percentage.
I'm seeing Jets plus 2.5, over/unders 44.5.
Yep. We have 60% of the tickets right now over at DraftKings I'm using the premium download section over at Roster Watch for the betting insights. The Bills right now, 2.5 point favorites. It looks like on Parks, this thing has changed to actually Buffalo now only +2, but 60% of the tickets are on Buffalo, only 54% of the money. That feels like the sharp money's probably a little bit in line with these guys. As far as the matchups here, I'll go to the Roster Watch matchup tool. So Buffalo basically faces, this is the worst matchup on the matchup tool for opposing quarterbacks. So it's a bad matchup for Josh Allen. For Josh Allen's matchup proof, so don't go benching him in your fantasy league or anything like that. The number 26 matchup for opposing running backs. I would be worried about playing running backs in this game. The number 32 matchup for opposing wide receivers. That's probably easy to understand why. But it is the number, you know what? This probably might be a good thing to share here, just to show you the stark difference. This could be a Dalton Kincaid breakout game, because this is the number 3 matchup is the New York Jets for opposing tight ends. Cody saying Dawson Knox. I like that. I like the Allen Lazard pick too. As far as the Jets here and facing Buffalo, it's another thing where it's tough, man. It's the 3rd worst matchup for opposing quarterbacks. So Aaron Rodgers is not going to be easy. The 4th worst matchup for opposing running backs, the 13th worst matchup for opposing wide receivers, and the 3rd worst matchup for opposing tight ends. So nobody's going to have it easy here. I'm thinking if I go over to Prize Picks, I might kind of pick some unders. Cody, I do love that about Lazard. And Cody was just the GOAT about picking out the Hayden Hurst stuff this weekend. Let's see. Let me see if I can share this and get into Prize Picks. Let's tell ourselves a story about this thing and see if we can put together I'm going to log in. Okay, so here we go. So what do we got?
While we're doing this, 100% deposit match up to $100 if you use code Orangebloods on Prize Picks.
Yep. And then tomorrow we'll have Taco Tuesday, and then Friday, of course, we'll have our protected plays. We'll have the predictions show up on Thursday, where we definitely made some
Prize Picks is a lot like Orangebloods, and you're right. Once you get started, it just kind of keeps going forever.
I had the wrong Prize Picks screen pulled up. Sorry, I had just the intro thing. So Prize Picks. Let's see. Where are you, Prize Picks? Prize Picks. Is this it? Share. Okay. So now. There you go. Are you seeing the board? Okay.
Yes.
So it's going to be raining to start this game. Well, let's just tell ourselves. Can we just tell ourselves the story that it's maybe the Dalton Kincaid spot? Or do we maybe think it's going to be the Dalvin Cook spot?
I could really use that for my fantasy team.
What?
Said I could really use a good game from Dalvin Cook.
It's not going to be the
for my
Brees
fantasy
Hall
team.
spot in the rain. I don't think it's going to be the James Cook pounding him between the tackles versus the defensive front of the Jet. I mean, could it be a Damian Harris? 24.5 yards for Damian Harris doesn't seem like too much.
No, that's pretty low.
Let's just see what the receiving yards are. Garrett Wilson, 69.5. I can't have that happen. I need Ketchum to basically score 0 points tonight for me to hang on to any kind of chance to win with the flop I had in fantasy in our league this week. 36.5 for Alan Lazard. What is Lazard's fantasy score? If it's anything less than 9, I'm going to take the more. 8.5. I'm going more on that. So the story I'm going to tell is that the game starts out sloppy. Josh Allen has a rough game. Josh Allen goes under 20.5 fantasy points. If he goes under 20.5 fantasy points, I'll bet you that Stephon Diggs will go under 15.5. So we'll go him with more, him with less, him with less. But if it's not going to them, it's got to go to somebody. How about the rookie, Dalton Kincaid? Or do we get swindled here and it's Dawson Knox, who takes all the sheen off from the shiny?
Oh, that would be a classic week one swindle.
Kincaid. It is. So let's take the more on Knox. And anybody on the Jets side. So in this kind of deal, they struggle, right? The Bills struggle. That would mean they're not going to be throwing a lot. They're not going to be throwing a lot. They might try to run the football more. And I think if they're trying to run it more and pound it out, it's going to be with Dalvin Cook. And that Dalvin Cook. Do I like the rush yards better? Does Dalvin have a receiving yards line? 11.5. No, it's like, that's not the story I'm telling, right? This isn't where they're having to throw to the running back a bunch in a 2 and 4 minute offense. This is where they're trying to just pound out the clock. Josh Allen's struggling. We've turned him over twice. We've gotten the ball in good field position. We hand it to Dalvin, and he scores a touchdown. So we need to get fantasy points for Dalvin, right? Fantasy points. If we're telling ourselves this story about how the game script's going to go.
Yeah, 10.5, yeah.
The more. Okay, so basically what we're telling ourselves here is that Josh Allen struggles. If he struggles, Stephon Diggs is going to struggle. But it won't take much to get Dawson Knox, especially if it's kind of raining. Get this to your tight end. The roster watch matchup tool says that it's a great tight end matchup. Right? Josh Allen has issues with converting on certain third downs, maybe turns it over a couple times. They get good field position. Dalvin Cook dives in for some easy touchdowns, and we get a couple little easy sort of, in the rain, pat of rain. Alan Lazard, your easy old target that helps you to kind of get used to this new offense if you're Aaron Rodgers, right? We're gonna wait on getting the whole new shiny toy and Garrett Wilson really going until next week. This could all be completely wrong, right? But at least all these things correlate, right? So why not have some fun with it? And why is it only giving me 10x? Your payouts are different than standard payouts as a result of this combination of players. Oh, look what Prize Picks. They see I'm trying to correlate. Can you see this? They see that I'm trying to correlate.
Yeah,
they think I'm a robot. They think I'm a robot. Unbelievable. Well, anyway.
It's all right, though. You just take the $5K that you saved from Valen Realty and put it all on this play right here, and then all of a sudden it's 10x.
All right, so that entry's placed. We'll see what happens. We can definitely talk about it tomorrow. My Circa Millions, I only hit 3 out of 5. I told you guys, I warned you guys all last week. Don't play these division favorites in week 1. And I played Seattle -5.5. How did that happen? The Rams smoked the Seahawks. All right, let's get to this super chat. 5 USD. Oh, okay. Alex, I have Isaiah Pacheco and Raheem Mostert. Who would you start regularly going forward now that I lost Dobbins?
Dobbins, yeah.
I play the matchups. I mean, Raheem Mostert. I think probably Mostert for now on a sort of a high flying offense. Jeff Wilson's going to be out till week 4 until Devon Achane can get healthy. He's basically the only game in town. So if I was going to, I would say play the matchups. And Tom G, you can always feel free to text me and ask me, tell me, hey, it's just ask me about the specific matchups and I'll just tell you, or just find me in chat. So, and hey, you guys can find me here again every weekday, 3:30 to 5:30 p.m. I know a bunch of people jumped in today to hear the Alabama analysis. We'll have a lot more of it. We'll be talking, the week will transition and we'll get to offense, and then later in the week, I haven't talked to Cody, but hopefully we'll get Cody on for the Friday for the Friday final takes going into Wyoming. We'll look into all that stuff. We'll get you ready for your NFL. We'll get you ready for your fantasy. Get you ready for your waivers right here on Football with Friends. It is, of course, fun as hell. So for Blake,